Hello and welcome to another instalment of Satoshi's Talks. I have with me today Mr. Blue, or the Blue Boar of England, and this is going to be an extension of the talks we had yesterday because we touched on a few subjects, but there's so much to get through. We thought we'd do another one today. So before we get started, experience the best of both worlds today at betbitcoinsv.com, the best casino and sports betting on chain. Have a little flutter in private using the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin. Right, let's cue the music.
Greg says he's Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. From the Genesis block, where the story began, he's acclaiming his legacy, a digital man. 1 million strong and transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Right then, Mr. Blue, are you there?
I am, Satoshi.
All right, mate. Right, so we've got loads to get through today. So yesterday we were talking about how they've subverted and perverted the Constitution. And today we are going to go on how they've merged, or they're trying to say that we are still under EU law.
Yeah, well, basically, what I want to start with is where we sort of began our last little tit-a-tete.
Yeah.
Was if we bring that understanding of the hierarchy between EU law and UK law.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is understanding the hierarchy between the EU and UK law ordinance, right? So ordinance is, and it basically tells you here, and this is the evidence to it, there you go, that we now are under the laws of Europe. They are the higher law against us, right? So we break any law, it's all EU law, which is nothing more than corporate law.
Yep, got you.
It's federal state law. So what does the Constitution say about that? Anything that repugnant to the sovereignty and rights of the man is void. This is why they're trying to do away with the Great Charter of Liberty, the Magna Carta.
Yeah.
Who do these people think they are to tell us that that is no longer relevant today? That's been relevant for hundreds of years, and it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
No man can be seized without the due process of law and the conviction of a jury trial. We are innocent before proven guilty. Now we are guilty and must prove our innocence.
Jeepers. And has there been
under the presumption of obligation?
And has there been a case where somebody's done that? Is that what it's called when a judge rules from the bench?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the judge in our system, constitutional common law, right? Yeah. If you don't turn up to a court, right? And this is the easier way to do it. Okay, if you've got a driving, and this is where you need to take notice now, guys. If you are under or have been under a parking ticket, even a private one, okay, they've issued a fine and you've paid it, right? That's illegal, and it's both unlawful because no grant of fine or forfeiture can be issued before due process in law. Massive case in 2002 by the Metric Martyrs ruling.
Yep.
That's what it was called. They've tried to cover that up so well that it's now S. Thornburn v. the City of Sunderland over weights and measures. Huh. We destroyed it. We destroyed that and said, no, it's R. Thornburn v. City of Sunderland in 2002 by Justice Lords, Manning and Stein. Right? Three top justices of the High Court. The House of Lords, the highest court in the land, said, no. And the guy did it over a parking ticket. You issued me a fine and forfeiture before conviction. So I'm innocent before you prove me guilty of any crime.
I thought this was to do with
the council
shop
came up
wanting to. I thought this was something to do with the shop sellers refusing to list things in the weight, the European weights, the metric system. They were just like, no, we're not using that.
That's what they've inverted and subverted the ruling on. They've now classed it as S Thornburn. Well, it's nothing to do with S Thornburn. It was a bunch of greengrocers.
Yes.
And I showed you what they'd done, and then I sent you the proper case law ages ago.
Right. Yeah.
Right, which is R. Thornburn v. City of Sunderland. And it was under Justice Laws, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Apologies again to his family. I will look it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then it went to the High Court. That was in 18th of February, I believe, 2002. It went to the highest court in the land then, which was the House of Lords. And it was sat and heard by Justice Manning, Justice Scott, and Justice Stein, who upheld the original decision that there can be no grant of fine or forfeiture without due process of law.
Brilliant.
Okay? By a jury. End of. Full stop.
Yep.
Right? So you've now breached this man's constitutional rights, even though it says that the Transport Board does not state that he's trying to overrule the constitution of law. But we warn officials now of the severity of violating or breaching the constitution of law, which basically means you breach it, it's treason. Because you are attempting to remove something you have no rights. You have no authority over. None. Because they are our rights, same as the Magna Carta. Parliament does not have the jurisdiction nor the ability to remove the Magna Carta. It has no responsibility to that because that is our rights. It's not theirs. It's nothing to do with them because they are fiction. Parliament stands under statutory law. Simple as that. Well, it's not law. They class it as law now, but it's rules. Nothing more than rules. You cannot, and we touched on this yesterday, make a rule law. Because what they did in 1978 by trying to take common law and basically merge it with statutory law to create one law is impossible. The reason it's impossible is because they are for two different jurisdictions or states, as they call it in law. Maxim in law, no two states can reside in the same jurisdiction. So how does a fictional person stand in the law of man? How does the legal fiction have law over the man? When the Maxim in laws, and I quoted them out yesterday with you, states quite strongly that that's impossible. Completely impossible. So Parliament, being of statutory only, the legal fiction, has no jurisdiction in common law or rights. So therefore it's acted outside its realm, its bounds and its jurisdiction and state. Therefore it has committed the act of treason by trying to alter or subvert our constitutional rights. Now these are rights, they're not anything else, right? These are now mine and yours, cannot be removed, cannot be changed, cannot be repealed. As stated in the Metric Martyrs ruling, an ordinary statute can be repealed.
Superior statute
a constitutional statute cannot.
Yep. And how do we know if something is a constitutional statute or not?
Because it's in the Constitution. Basically, your Constitution is just not, and this is where they're trying to get you now, right? It's not just one document. It's multiple documents, and these are our ancient rights and customs. That's what we talk about. So it goes back to the 1701 Act of Union, 1702, the Bill of Rights, the Petition of Rights, same year, 1688, Petition of Rights. Right? These are what are ours. They cannot be removed. This is where your freedom of travel comes from. Right? Your ability to stand under common law and common rights. If you have committed no harm, no foul, no injury, no fraud, there is no crime. Under statutory rules, you go 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, that's an infraction. Now we're going to fine you. Because you have worked now, you've agreed with us. Oh, have we? Because you've got a license. But when did I agree that I would become your servant? Because that's what they've done. Parliament has now flipped the switch. They are the masters, we are the servants. I don't think so, Parliament. You have no standing in law, none whatsoever. And this is what was stated to Edward Heath by Lord Kilmore, and we touched on that yesterday, in them letters that you showed up very expertly yesterday, Sean.
Yeah, see if I
What
can
did it
find
say he
that.
breached? How many treason acts did they breach?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was. I know I've got that document somewhere because we found it yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Lord Kilmore and Edward Heath documents, where basically Edward Heath told us us plebs didn't have the ability to rule ourselves and needed to be ruled.
That's right. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's where it comes. It was on yesterday's show, so please go back to yesterday's show. Have a look at it. It's all the documents are on there. I don't state anything I cannot prove as fact.
Yeah.
It's there. There's the evidence of it. Right? There's the evidence of it. That's what it is. That's what it states. And there is no getting away from it. When they entered the EU in 1973, they broke the law, the highest law in the land. They broke our constitutional rights by surrendering our sovereignty. And if you were born in that year, that's my sovereignty. That is my rights. So I was born just before 1973. So that is where I am. So they stole my sovereignty. Okay? And issued it to the EU federal state to basically have rule over me. But my constitutional rights say no way, Jose. That is the highest law in this lands of England. It is not for Parliament, who is nothing more than a statutory fiction house, to have any rule over the man. Because man gave sovereignty to Parliament for governance only, for the betterment of man. Stated in your constitution.
Amazing.
And this is where the tragedy happens. They have literally removed our constitutional rights over time. They've removed your Magna Carta and said, oh, no, that's no longer there for you. We've removed it. Who the hell are you to tell me what is removed? You are a fiction. I am man. I am the sovereign, as stated to the Constitution. I am the Englishman of the realm of England. Now, you go into a court today, no, there's no such thing as the realm of England. We got it yesterday in court.
Really?
Yeah, really. The judge was reminded, first in line is first in right.
And how did he respond to that?
Oh, he wasn't happy. And he sort of blustered his way through.
Did he?
Oh, yes. Give the man his due. he stopped the case and has adjourned it for 3 weeks for an affidavit to be done, which they are not going to like. Because the judges are now under misconduct in public office, every judge, because they're no longer public officers. They don't tell you this. They stood in 4 jurisdictions.
And what are those 4 jurisdictions?
Equity, law, which is contract law. Mm-hmm. That was mentioned in the case yesterday, and the judge went, oh, and I suppose the government, the council now need to have everybody. And we went, yes, that's why it's called equity law, contract law. So therefore it needs my agreement that I've entered into this agreement willingly, knowingly, and voluntary. And the judge coughed a dummy. Huh. What?
Brilliant.
Because they think we're completely ignorant.
Well, a lot of people are.
Completely ignorant of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's a maxim in law. Know your law, guys. Honest to God. Statutes are there, especially CPS, due process and CPR. Right? 31.6, disclosure rules. There's case law on disclosure. Right. They don't disclose anything to you. It's void. Failure to disclose. There's loads of case laws in it, including the Attorney General, where the Attorney General got told. Lord Denning's famous quote. Now, Mr. Attorney General, no matter how high you climb, the law will always stand above you.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
It's all there if we are, I won't say competent, but ready to look. And that's the problem. What they've done is, and what we've done is, we put too much trust into this shower.
Yeah.
And now we're reaping the benefits of pain and torture. Because the police can't arrest you. They're no longer a police force.
Yeah.
They've removed, like I stated yesterday, Pitcom 233.
Yep. Because
we issued it to them. We proved that it was the Chief Constables. And it was the Chief Constables Association, dissolved. Wow. It's now called, we found it again, it's called the Police Association.
Is it now?
Police Officers Association.
Huh. No way.
Yep. We'll find Pitcom again, because all it is that is a satellite corporation. Sorry, that's the main mother corporation of the Crown Agents, Crown Corporation, UK Corporation, and then every, like West Yorkshire Police, Cumbria Police, all those get their licence to trade from what was Pitcom 233.
Wow.
Right? Nothing is what it seems anymore. And like I stated to you earlier today when we spoke just very briefly, the Crown Agents Act's a beauty to look at. John Major removed it in 95.
I remember that. Yeah.
Blair dissolved it in 97.
Did he?
And where did he move all the Crown Agents? Now, let me explain what a Crown Agent is. Now, the Crown Agents signed the documents that police officers, judges, men of authority within the statutory fiction were under oath and beneath and on the restraints of the Coronation Oaths Act.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And they dissolved them in 1997, and they moved them to the Companies Act 1985, and it tells you if you look it up.
Yeah, I'm just looking
at it. So please look it up very quickly before they dissolve it, before they take it off, because this is what they do. Every time we hit them with something, they remove it.
Really?
Once we prove it to them, they remove it. They change the system slightly.
This is why it needs to go on the Bitcoin network, mate, so they can't delete it and they can't remove it.
Well, that's what we've discussed, at length, me and yourself. But I'm too old for that, Sean. You know, us older people over 50, we like to know. I mean, I was brought up in a time where there was very little, and we were taught by our grandparents, our aunties, and everything else. Now, I remember my gran, my auntie, my uncles all had little tins. Yeah. That was for rent, that for gas bill, that for electric bill, that was for that. Whatever we'd got left, put food on the table, clothes on us backs, we never overspent.
Yep.
Never. and the tallyman. You know, because if we needed to buy a little bit of whatever or do whatever or got a bigger bill than we thought, we borrowed a little bit and paid it back.
Yep.
That's how we lived. And we've forgotten all that. We've forgotten how we were self-sufficient. Now it's just rip off Britain because everything's incorporated. Everything.
Yeah, including the bank that prints the currency.
Correct. The king, incorporated. Who is no longer king, he's head of state. The head of the corporation. Right, so let's not forget, guys, that this is now nothing more than a elaborate betrayal of your true standing.
Yeah.
This is why they've moved public servers out of all their literature.
Really? There's no...
Because they're no longer public. They're private.
No, well, so
private corporations.
They've actually removed all of that text, calling them public servants.
Yep. Or in most documents, I would say 90% of the documents. It's when you used to be able to fill a form in and say you were English. Now you can't. You have to claim that you're British. So you scrub that out, put English. When it says UK, scrub it out, put England. When it says benefit, scrub it out, put entitlement. When it says signature, scrub it out, autograph. Because they're all legal-ese corporation speak. Brilliant. Because you are under, if you're under equity law, compel performance, look it up, it tells you. Compel performance. So that means you will turn up when we tell you to turn up and you will take your punishment. And if we fine you, you will pay it. Because we will change jurisdiction that many times you won't know how we beat you.
Well, what they're doing
Simple.
is, again, unconstitutional, repugnant. So
exactly, it's repugnant
criminal.
to common law, and it violates your rights as to the Constitution and common law, because it's in the Bill of Rights, it's in the Petition of Rights, it's in the Magna Carta. And the reason they've got rid of Magna Carta is because it says you can bear arms.
Really?
It also says it in the Bill of Rights. It also says it in the Maxim of Law. Only a slave does not bear arms. A free man can and will bear arms.
Wow. Wow.
But they've conned everybody because of public safety. That, oh, no, we shouldn't have all these guns out there. We can take your handguns. No, you can't. Who the hell are you to tell me what I can and can't do? But we fell for it. Hook, line and sinker. Now, the servants have arms against us and they're killing us every time you turn on the news.
Yeah.
How many policemen have been charged? They've got 100 officers in suspension for rape, grooming, and all the rest of it. Wife battery, you name it, the list goes on. Serious misconducts. You've got other officers in there that are breaching your constitutional rights, which is treason. Because if they stop you under the statutory rule, that breaches your constitutional right. As we've demonstrated, 2019, they've done a deal behind closed doors with Europe. So we now never left Europe. We are still under European federal law, which trumps our constitutional right. So they believe. All we do is claim our rights back and sack them. If you pull up the Halsbury's document, and this proves it, I sent you the earlier day, and I did a little bit of thing, right. And that actually that top bit comes straight out of Halsbury's law, and we've used that as evidence today in a case. We've sent it into the judge to answer under an affidavit. They're not going to like these affidavits.
Brilliant. And for those who are listening, do you mind if I just read out that Halsbury's law that you sent me?
No.
Excellent. Yeah, here we go.
Please do.
So it says, the law is absolutely clear on this subject. There is no authority for administrative courts in this country, and no act can be passed to legitimise them because of the constitutional restraints placed upon Her Majesty at her coronation. The collection of revenue by such means is extortion, and extortion has been found reprehensible since ancient times. Separation of powers today in the year 2011, we find, for example, that in the council tax regulations, the billing authority, the prospecting authority, and the enforcement authority are all vested in the same body. The same bodies even purport to issue their own legal documents by tacit agreement with the courts. In our system of common law, the rule of law demands that we have a separation of powers. Today, the powers are not separate. The executive is not a distinct freestanding leg of the tripod. The executive now emerges directly from within the elected chamber of the legislative, where previously it emanated directly from the monarch. That leads to constitutional confusion because the executive has seized and misuses Parliament's democratic credentials for its own destructive purposes. Fortunately, we have something to which we can turn to preserve our ancient laws and freedoms. We have the oath that Her Majesty the Queen took at her coronation, by which she is solemnly bound, and from which no one in England, Wales, and Scotland has released her. At her coronation, the Queen swore to govern us according to our respective laws and customs. Certainly, among our reputed customs is precisely that invaluable and widely admired tripartite division of the powers. The judiciary is part and parcel of our customary system of internal sovereignty, the Queen in Parliament. It is one of the three separate but symbolic powers, and it is capricious and self-serving contention that it should not have been the power to preserve the authority of the legislator over the executive. It is a constitutional principle that the assent of the Queen and the Parliament is prerequisite to the establishment of a court which can operate a system of administrative law in Her Majesty's court in England. This was confirmed by Lord Denning during the debates on the European Communities Amendment Bill, HL, I think it was Deb 08, October 1986, volume 4080, CC 24695, 246 at 250. Quotes here: there is our judicial system deriving from the Crown as the source and fountain of justice. No court can be set up in England, no court can exist in England except by the authority of the Queen and Parliament. That has been so ever since the Bill of Rights. I think then it says 08. Right, yeah. So now they're basically saying that there's a misuse and separation of powers, which is against the Constitution. Correct. Massive.
Yeah, but when they went into Europe, that was a misuse of power. They didn't have the power to do it. They didn't have the consent to do it.
Yeah.
And if they'd have told the truth, like it says in the letters by Lord Kilmore yesterday, we would never have gone into Europe. But he took it on his own shoulders with the Queen to go into Europe, the EEC.
Yeah, he knew it was treason.
And they all knew it was treason. All of Parliament knew it was treason. But nobody spoke out. Nobody, not one. Apart from Lord Kilmore. And he did it rather well, I believe. In his letters, made it very clear. So therefore, the Queen ended her lineage not only in 56, because she signed the coronation oath, that's at the top of the page, which we demonstrated yesterday. So she never signed the coronation oath. Charles could not take the throne because the line had ended. And this is where the magic came in, and they called themselves the head of state.
Yeah, it says here,
the state being a corporation.
I've just brought this up about the four peers invoking ancient rights under the Magna Carta. So there was an article here, 24th of March 2001. Four peers invoked ancient rights under the Magna Carta yesterday to petition the Queen to block closer integration with Europe. The Duke of Rutland, Viscount Masserane, and Ferrard Lord Hamilton of Dazzle, and Lord Ashbourne were imbued with the spirit of the ancient charter, thrust upon King John in 1215 in accordance with the Charter's Clause 61, the famous enforcement clause. The four presented a vellum parchment at Buckingham Palace declaring that the ancient rights and freedoms of British people had to be defended. The clause,
Correct.
one of the most important in the Charter, which was passed to King John at Runnymede, allows subjects of the realm to present a quorum of 25 barons with a petition, which 4 of their number then have to take to the monarch, who must accept it. It was last used in 1688 at the start of the Glorious Revolution. Wow. It's
and it's still in effect today.
Yeah.
Still in effect today. But what they didn't realise is that they were years late, because in 73 they became incorporated.
Yeah.
So now you were not dealing with men, you were dealing with fictions. The Queen herself became a fiction. Charles is a fiction. Under the document they signed to join the EEC under federal law. And we've shown how they've done it. We've just shown you documentation tonight, again, how they've done it, what they've done. So Article 61 is still in force. But because people are so, I hate the word ignorant, but it is ignorance of our ancient rights and customs.
Yeah.
Right? And they're ignorant of the law and what is law, because we've been conned. Simple as that. We've been defrauded. We've been deceived. We've been betrayed by public officials, which is misconduct in public office, because they're no longer public officers, but they're taking their paychecks as if they are. That's theft.
Outrageous.
And this is what they've done. So all articles of the Magna Carta are in force. It cannot be separate. It cannot be changed. It is our rights. We died for these rights. You've just read out there, before the revolution of 1668.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've shown you. We showed the other day on the 1832 Municipals Act. Right, ended in 1886. It's not the first time they've tried this nonsense. But even our ancient, nearly 200 years ago, ancestors, we're not having that. Hell's bells no. So we're going to stand it today, are we? We're going to have a parliament that will not hold a public inquiry, even though it's been told to. The Prime Minister has been told to resign by over 3 million people.
Yeah.
And there has to be a new election. Who are they to overrule our sovereignty? And what does it say on that last document you read? The sovereignty of the people. It's there.
Yep.
It's in every document we use. And they disclaim our sovereignty rights as English men of the realm of England. Because Wales is not a country. Scotland is not a country. Ireland is not. Southern Ireland is obviously a country. Northern Ireland is not. Wales is a principality. The rest are not. It's all the realm of England. That'll
really
annoy a lot of the Scottish people. Of course it is. Huh. We beat them. We conquered them. That's why you get the Prince of Wales.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You don't get the Prince of Scotland, do you?
No, that's true. You don't.
You don't get the Prince of Ireland, do you? Because we executed all their kings and monarchs and whatever, then they ever made a claim that they were the king of. The kings through the line literally decimated their lineage, their lines, deliberately. So there could never be another claim.
Right, I see.
And they all became the realm of England. That's why it was called in olden times. You're talking sort of the knights and the shiny horses and the, all tugging and yes sir, no sir, oh, your royalness. Yeah. Because the barons ruled the land. And we paid the tax, we paid for renting the land off the baron, so he could pay taxes to the king. That was it. We paid to rent land, to farm land, to ensure we could feed our people. Now they're trying to destroy it and sell everything to the billionaire corporations of whatever you want to call them, that have no rights to our land, that cannot sell our land because it's held in perpetuity for all time. Coronation oaths.
So is tax considered the collection of, if that's the collection of revenue?
Yes, of course it is.
Right, so
it's a fine.
So the collection of revenue by such means is extortion.
Correct.
So tax is extortion.
Yes. Because there's the only time that you could ever claim tax is in a war, right?
Yeah.
Because the king then opened his coffers to the people and said, right, we have to defend ourselves. We are all in this to defend our lands, our children, our rights, our customs. We must now by a force and be able to pay for these forces and be able to pay for the metal, the workmen, to do it.
So that's why they issued the Bradbury pound in 1914, because there was no debt associated with it.
No. And the Bradbury pound was the pound. It was the only asset backed. And then they realised that when they'd issued too many, that they didn't have enough gold and reserves in the bank.
I thought it was just
that's when they started to panic.
I thought the banks were just, well, the thing is though, if you're issuing a Bradbury pound and it's a pound that is not a debt, then the banks can't make any money from it. Well, they can't make any.
Well, it wasn't only that, Sean, but your Bradbury pound, if you took that to they're called pawn shops these days, but they weren't in the olden days. Right? Yeah. There were some pawn shops, but there were exchanges. So you went in there and got, I think it was 4 ounces of gold. Don't quote me on that, but it was some amount of gold.
Yeah.
And obviously, with the gold price going up and down, because they'd fixed that price, that system, they couldn't change it. Because your Bradbury pound was worth that, stated by the Bank of England when it was ours. So when there was a miners' strike again before World War I, they couldn't understand how all the pitmen were out on work and stayed out so long. All they did was take their Bradbury pounds and go weigh them in. Basically, I want gold. And gold was because obviously with every, shall we say, strike and stuff, there's always a run on something of value, which is normally gold. So the gold price went up. So they went in and exchanged their Bradbury pound to a pawn shop, went round the colt, sold it to the gold merchant for double, treble, whatever it was worth. So then all the powers that be went, woof, we can't have this. Hell no. No. We're going to have to do something here. So they sat down, and then this is when they came up with their colourable money, colourable law. Well, colourable money first, and that's why it came as it did in the war. And this is why I think the war started, is so that they could bring in the Federal Reserve and change the script of money by putting it into pound.
They wanted to bring in the SEC.
Yeah.
So they could regulate their own fraud.
Yep. And nobody could do it, even to this day. When was the last time the EEC or EU was audited?
Neither the Federal Reserve or the ECB have ever been audited, ever.
So how do we know what's going off? Where's all the money come from?
Well, yeah, currency, they're just printing that shit from nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. Because it has no value, it has no transit, anything. You go to the Bank of England, you are supposed to be able to go to the Bank of England and go, there's my £10, I want £10 of gold. Just that's what it was supposed to be for. It was the value of whatever it was. So can you imagine now going into the Bank of England and saying, right, there you go, I want £10 of gold when you issued this note? And how much gold has gone up at the minute?
All-time highs at the moment.
Yeah, nobody'd ever work again. But they won't give you it because there's no value to the paper. It's paper money.
Yeah. Yep.
It has no value. None. And that's what people have to understand. I mean, we've just literally crapped himself. Because the guy stood there and he went, yeah, but no, you can't come out with that nonsense. You've not done it right. You've not done this. They've not accepted it. And he went, well, they've not returned it. Promissory note. As to, what is it, and Lord Denning, and he played Lord Denning. I sent you the recording of Lord Denning in court, saying that basically promissory notes will be accepted unless there is a genuine reason why not.
Yeah.
Because it has the same value as money today. Nothing. Therefore, it cannot be refused. But they didn't like that. So what the judge argued in court was, well, hang on a minute, you can't say that. There's no money value to it. You've got a £200,000 asset. Quick as a whip. The bloke went, oh, have I? So I own that asset, do I? Yes, of course you do. Can you put that in writing, please? And I'll pay my mortgage on my way out. And the judge went, what do you mean? He says, because I have only got usury, fractionary use of that property. I can never own it, can I? And the judge's face, I don't understand what you mean. He said, well, I think you better learn what I mean. This is supposed to be a court of law. Where's the contract? There's no contract in evidence. Therefore, you cannot find for the plaintiff. Can't find for the bank. There's no evidence. Where's the mortgage offer? Not being supplied. Where's my signature? Where's the mortgage document with my signature on it? Not supplied. So there's no evidence that they lent me anything bar a bit of paper that I could have knocked up at home in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That cannot be, and that there's nobody here to speak on behalf of the corporation, the bank. So we've now got a solicitor in court that has no first-hand knowledge, that's now perjured himself into a statement of truth that he's issued to court that's not true because he didn't have first-hand knowledge. The judge nearly had a heart attack there and then.
Brilliant. So
if they've separated my signature from the mortgage offer, that now becomes, under your law, an unsecured loan. Does it not?
Yep.
You, the finance guy, Sean, will know exactly that. You're damn right it is. So how are they taking people's properties? When they've sold the security, your signature created the money. So therefore, he who creates owns.
And that's
maxim of law.
And that's created because it's effectively a promissory note from the Statutory v trusts.
Yeah. So basically, you signed a document with a broker, not a bank that's lending you the money. He's then wrapped that up with 8, 10, 12,000 other loans that these floated on a market, as you're fully aware, Sean.
Yeah.
Right? And they've then securitized that instrument into money. These massive, whatever companies have bought it to make money off it, because what they've done now is the bank, they've sold it and put 20% on it. So if it's $1 million, they've sold it for 1.2 million. It's a lot more than that. I'm trying to keep it, sensible figures so that we all understand.
Yeah.
So it's, 1.2 million. Now put in all the costs that we've paid, all the filings and everything else that we've paid for, the solicitor that we've paid for, then put in the fact that the solicitor works for the bank. There's no meeting of the minds. There's no valid contract. And what they've done is they've sold your signature to create the money from their holdings company that then trickles down all the money that they've got in to each individual party. It comes to your local branch and they just put ones and zeros in. Nobody ends up with any money. Nobody. It's all disappeared. There's no money involved in it whatsoever. And the money has no value anyway. And now, because we're under a corporation, we now have, through the BCC RSS, is usury, benefactory, usage only. We can never own anything because they've removed common law. Common law is ownership. Ownership rights. Now, if you notice when they come for, and the bailiffs turn up, they've come for the land, not your house, because your house is, your footings are deeper than 8 inch. So by default, they take your house.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
No way.
Because you only own the top 8 inch. And no, you don't. Going back to when I bought my properties, you owned 125 feet below you.
Yeah.
Right? And hell no, you cannot. So that's it. Right? Because the only thing that belows that are minerals and everything else, such as the coal and everything else. Right? And they were put into the nation. They are the nation's property and asset. That's how it was done way back when.
Yep.
Okay, so that's how they're doing it now. So, and these mortgages have never seen anything. You've not been lent anything, so they can't charge interest. We've had several people get their money back from the banks.
Really?
Because they've challenged them on the fact that you didn't lend me anything. So why am I paying you interest? And therefore, under the direct debit promissory indemnity, you have to pay me back. Because if something is paid in error, they have to pay you back. No questions asked. No questions.
Yeah, well, usury was didn't exist before 1066.
Correct.
It's one of the 7 deadly sins.
Correct. And that's why they use it. So when we said to the judge that we've only got usury benefit of it, because it's not ours, why am I paying all this interest back when there is no interest to pay? And it's against my religion. And the king must defend as to attend court and defend my right not to pay interest.
Brilliant. I wish there was a, well, I mean, so is it true that if there's no camera in court, then it's not a court of record? Therefore,
yes,
it's
not.
It's not a court of law.
It's not a court of law. There's no court of law. In 2008, all courts of law were dissolved.
Yeah.
All of them. That's what we had. If everybody remembers, when you go back to 2008, we had about an 18-month crash, market crash. Prices went down. It nearly sank me. It nearly broke me, to be fair. Right, 2008. Nearly, it broke a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because we weren't expecting it. And that was to cover up the fact that they had taken all the constitutional courts out of this country. And if you look at the monarch's constitutional court, that's what they are. They will not argue that they are not courts. They will not whatever. That's why you have to put everything into an affidavit. Because now on commerce law, the affidavit has to be answered line by line. Every question you ask, it must be answered. If it's not, an unrebutted affidavit becomes truth. Then you put in a mini affidavit after 40 days. And basically say, you have not rebutted my affidavit. Here's a copy of it. You have a further, I can't remember off the top of my head, Sean. I've got to forget. You've got to forgive me. I don't know if it's another 40 days or it's 21 days. And then that becomes judgment. And then no court can award anything to anybody. You have won your case. And that is either number 5 and number 6 in commerce, because there's 10 maxims in commerce law. That's all there is. And then you use number 3, sovereign. Truth is sovereign. Right. So now you have declared truth by a sovereign, being sovereign, and you are the sovereign. So the sovereign of truth by the sovereign. That's how you sign it off.
Brilliant. And that's,
that's
working at the moment.
Well, let's just say it's worked in a couple of little bits, because obviously they don't want you-know-who in court when you summons him. So they're now, what the fuck do I do now? What I call it is he's boxing in. So the judge thinks he's going into a court. So there's a couple of ways you tackle these. So we put an affidavit in first. Have you received the affidavit, Judge? Right, well, you've not answered it, so we cannot continue today. Huh. And the judge looks at you. Excuse me? No. You can't. The affidavit is a statement of truth and fact, correct? Therefore, it must be answered under commerce law. And you have issued a summons today to issue me to court under a compelled performance, under the presumption of obligation. Well, I'm here today by special request of my trust, by special appearance of the legal fiction, to represent the legal fiction as the man. I am the sole beneficiary and the sole executor of the trust. There is no other. Do not be entering my trust, or I will charge you with trust fraud. What USIP keys are you using? Codes.
Yeah.
Keys, codes.
Yeah.
Canon law. 1250, 1297. Any public official that denies the existence of the trust shall be removed and dealt with immediately.
Oh wow, that's massive. And have you tried that in court?
No, let's just say, we've got to go through certain processes, and we're just getting them now to. So we say we're starting to make inroads and find out who's a judge and who's not a judge.
Well, none of them are judges, are they? Because they're not under.
No. Well, there's certain judges, shall we say, that are trying to allow certain things.
Yeah, good guys.
And there are other certain judges that are definitely out and out not.
Right, got you.
So we're trying to wrinkle out who's who and who's not.
Right,
is how I'm going to phrase it. Okay, because Lord Manning stated at the High Bench, King's Bench, right? No warrant is legal if it's not signed. Period. It is illegal and void. Yet they turn up with all these warrants that are not signed. They now dispute the fact that, what has it said? If you look on certain lines, Shana E. Jones has been asked several times, and she's come back with, in my opinion, no judge would say this. Oof. And I've removed the case law transcription. Now, I met the guy who got that law, who got it. Okay, yeah. I met him about 6-8 months ago. He's a friend of one of our friends, Sean.
Right, brilliant.
Of our mutual acquaintance.
Yeah.
Right, and he's living in Spain at the minute, and he confirmed that is what the judge stated, and he's got the full transcript of that case.
Right.
So all you do now is issue to Justice Manning to appear before the court.
Brilliant. Well, that needs to go on chain so they can't delete it.
Correct. But what I'm saying is, this is where they start to panic. If you now start asking for certain officials to attend court to give evidence, they just do not. No. We can't do that. Yes, we can, because we have a right to. You are stating in court, he who state must prove that they're above me, that a statute has any effect with me. So fetch the head of the parliamentary body here to make that statement true. Fetch the head of state here and tell me what contracts we have signed with him. Because all contracts have to be voluntary, even under Admiralty maritime law. It's an international contract because it's basically corporation.
So it's under UCC.
And if they haven't got one, yeah, it's under UCC. Yeah. That's why all the buildings are under UCC code. So now you just put in UCC 1-3, ICC 1-308, 1-308 under UCC, 1- like I said yesterday, There's a big document coming out very shortly, which I'm going to give you and a few other of your colleagues on the Freedom Network access to. And there's going to be a few backups with that literally and hopefully, because if you've had time to have a look at the MIPO, suspend under Section 26. It suspends all officers that are accused of it. Now, what we've all got to understand is that if they violate one man's constitutional right, they violate every man's constitutional right. So we now claim that you have violated our constitutional rights. You've violated theirs, you've violated mine. Therefore, I am now issuing a claim against you. And I am claiming public outrage because you have now committed the same crime against me by deception, betrayal.
Yeah. Crime against the state.
It's the nation, the state. No, we are the nation. Is us, right? We are the nation of the people.
Yeah,
that's what it states in the constitutional law books. The state is the corporation.
Yeah, got it.
See how they've inverted, subverted, and perverted the language.
Yep.
The state is nothing. It's a corporation. It's fiction. It runs under statutes. Statutes are rules. And we the people, decide which statute becomes law, public out, not them. If we say, no, that's repugnant to my constitutional rights, it's void instantaneously. I'm not playing under that. I don't give a shit who you are. No. Void. Go away. We're not having that. What we're going to do, because that's what we had the authority, and we have the authority to do. So now we've caught them. Because from 1973, what has all their acts and statutes been in?
Treason.
Correct. Lord Kilmore said it. Removing the Crown Agents, an act of treason. Removing the Coronation Oath, an act of treason. Bringing this, violating the separation of powers, treason. Parliament cannot stand in two jurisdictions or three jurisdictions. Because what did Charlie Boy say? He has surrendered his authority to his Parliament, did he not?
Yes.
So where's the People's Parliament then? Misconduct in what is called public office.
Right, brilliant.
The king is not in public office. Therefore, he is not the king. Cannot be in the king because he's not under a coronation oath. Again, if you want to read what it says on the Halsbury's law book, you know the document I've just sent you?
Yeah, I'm just bringing Halsbury's law up again, yep. Yeah, about separation of powers.
No, go to the one before that. No administrative court. So if no administrative court has got any power or authority, why is every court now in England, including the Royal Courts of Justice, an administrative court?
Yep. The law is absolutely
because
clear
they're a statute.
on this. Yeah.
Yep. Why do they exist? Why do they not state as fact that Halsbury's law is no longer the law of the land? Why do they ignore lawful orders, such as your void order? Because there is no law. You've seen the void orders that I do, Sean, yes, where I put them under UCC, where I put them under common law, acts of statutes, case law. We've had two stamped, and then they've tried to ignore it.
So they're acting in treason and deception.
Correct. And betrayal of the public office.
And extortion.
And extortion. Fraud by misrepresentation.
Yep.
Fraud by non-disclosure under the Fraud Act 2006, sections 2, 3, 4 and 5. For the senior officials, it's 12 and 13. For your people at home, do a little bit of research. It's good bedtime reading, and it will waken you up to the truth of it. They're all stood in fraud, deception, fraud by omission, fraud by deception. Because they're using statutory laws above you, which are not for you. They're using EU federation law, corporate law, under equity law, because they've inverted, subverted and perverted our customs, which is your driving license, which is your birth certificate, which is your true standing as the man of England.
So
and I don't mean that nastily to the ladies. So they've now basically classing you as British, which is a citizen of the state. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not. That's a breach of Article 4 of the Human Rights Convention. No one shall be forced to belong to an association. That includes the UK Corporation or the Great British Corporation.
Yeah, European Convention on Human Rights. Guide on Article 4. Prohibition of slavery and forced labour.
Yep. Because nobody can be, that is what they're doing. They're forcing us into slavery. By Article 20. Article 4 is slavery, sorry, it's Article 20, Sean. Nobody shall be forced to be a member of an association. So that is what we are. We are now slaves to the state to ensure that the state runs, the corporation runs, through issuing fines and forfeitures before due process. And we will tell you what you've breached, what rule you have broken, and you will pay the fine for it. And we will forfeit you by giving you points and removing your license. Well, there you go. You want my license? Fucking take it. You owe me now what I've paid and what interest I've lost on that. Because I have the right to travel freely without let or hindrance. I don't need a license. That license, when I took it, was in fraud because I agreed to take a test to prove that I was capable to drive a motorised vehicle. Not for you to issue fines and forfeitures at will and include taxation against me, the man, to be then forcibly used and abused into slavery for the state, and then to be trafficked in human trafficking laws in violation of the Human Rights Convention, and by using terror of their Gestapos, the police force, by coming across, handcuffing you, illegal. I'm not handcuff you, can't tase you, can't turn up mob-handed like they do. Terrorism. 2015 Terrorism Act.
Oh. Wow.
Torture. Putting you in handcuffs and throwing you in a cell. They've no rights to do that. None. We showed it the other day, Sean.
How would we go about? How would we go about enforcing this if everything is corrupt?
Well, basically, all we do is we say no. It's there in your constitution. It's there in your common law rights. It's there in their statutes. It's there in the Human Rights Convention. No. We're not putting up with you. We're not having you, and we're charging you. We issue an MIPO, Section 20, misconduct in public office. Because you're no longer in public office, you're creating fraud. Then we set up, these peacekeepers and all these different forces and everything else, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
We bring them together as one solid unit and call them constitutional common law sheriffs, given the sanctity of sovereignty of the people. And we agree that they are now the new law, the peacekeepers, under constitution and common law. You breach common law, you're arrestable. And I don't give a shit who you are. And whether that's backing us up with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 million of us, starting at one end of the country and walking down to the rest of the country, and arresting every judge, politician, councillor, and everything, and then putting them to a constitutional monarchy court, and putting them under the Bill of Rights and all of our common law rights, because they've caused injury, they've caused loss. All these houses that they've repossessed wasn't theirs to repossess. They had no right to come in and bully boy you. None. The Constitution, the Magna Carta, is so clear on this. They have no right to tell us what is and what is not law. They are public servants. Maxim in law. The servant will obey the master within the law.
So yeah, the banks obviously, well, any organisation like that would need funding, and that's what the banks will not fund. Like, you know,
It doesn't matter. We don't need the banks. We've got the banks. Right? This is what makes me laugh. Because once you take them, we take the banks. Because who have they worked for? Who is the main culprit by the head of state? The banks. Because they forged and used fraudulent instruments to get you to sign a document that is worthless, to pay interest, so we seize all the bank's assets, including their money, their gold, their silver, everything that they own. Their shareholders, everything they own, because they benefited. Maxim in law. He who benefits from the crime is guilty of the same crime. So if we want, we can go all the way down the line. We can literally take everything they've taken from us and more. Because don't forget, under God's law, we can times it by 7. You have been wronged, you have to pay 7 times the value back. So every pound you've been defrauded, they've offered, whether the money's worthless or not, they have to pay you £7 back. That's God's law. That's by a jury of your peers. And the jury has to be 26, not 12.
right,
Because it states it in the Juries Act. They changed it because basically they didn't like paying 26 jurors.
okay.
That's what it's all about. Because they've literally, even though the money's worthless, they want us to pay for it. What does it say in law? No one shall be, justice shall not, law shall not be sold. Justice will not be denied or delayed.
Yep, I remember reading that in the Magna Carta.
Yep. So what they're doing, they're selling law, they're selling justice, and they're delaying it until they decide that we come before them, and we come before them in 4 jurisdictions, so that they then change the jurisdiction, remove our constitutional protections and rights, and then fine you, take your license, and do whatever else. And then don't sign a document which then becomes illegal and void, and therefore is a MIPO, misconduct in public office. Even states it in the Electronic Act. Electronic warrants must be signed by the judge.
Huh. What, as in like a digital signature or wet ink signature?
No, it's got to be. They've got to carry 2. If they're coming with the digital thing, they then also have to have the wet ink signature with them.
Right, brilliant.
That's why the court stamp. I've shown you this before, Sean. The court stamp is now black, right?
Yep.
It should be embossed with paper, and it should be attached to the paper, not a black stamp, not a red stamp from the High Courts. It has to be a lawful, sovereign stamp, and it no longer is. None of them. It's just a post office stamp.
It's just,
corporate stamp.
It's getting the people to wake up and realise this. I mean, I still know people who are completely fast asleep, even after all these years. You know,
they will be. Look, end of the day, there's so much going off, and this is the problem. We're bombarding people with too much facts. The fact is, the COVID pandemic was nothing more than genocide. The chemtrails are nothing more than poisoning.
Yep.
Right. So when you put all this together, and then you put it to the thing that these people are in a position of trust that shouldn't be doing this. No. We voted for our politics. No. He's the great, the fabulous, our council. No. They're doing the best job they can with the limit. No. Something's got to give. You know, we've all got to chip in. No, it's already paid for, mate. You've already paid for it. They've already accessed your trust. And then they've not paid taxes on it. So we're now left with a fake debt. A fake debt.
Yeah.
We owe no money. We owe nobody anything. We've not used any of this money.
It's all fraud.
What they say is our debt.
Yeah.
Right? Because they haven't paid it to the IRS. So now what they're taking in our taxes is they're paying back with money of no substance, with no value.
Yeah, it's a joke. Joke.
It's an absolute merry-go-round of fraud, deception, deceit, betrayal, and treason at every level. Every level. An act of terrorism by the police, human trafficking by the police, and slavery by everybody going on. Because they said our Magna Carta does not stand. Who are they? They're fiction. Well, fiction does not tell the man what to do.
Indeed.
So therefore, why are we listening? Why are we following round like sheep? Here you go, come and share me. Take everything I've got. Because all I feel like at the minute, if you can remember the 80s, 90s program called Hustle.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, where the man's on the string and they're pulling him this way and his watch is flying off, his money's going this way, his money's going that way, his stuff's going this way, his stuff's going that way, and they're still in his car.
Yeah.
Right? We are being hustled, ladies and gentlemen, in the worst way possible. They're taking everything. Absolutely everything. And unless we stand together, this country is done.
So this is where I'm trying to tell people that the country and people will unite due to economic incentive, and the cabal knows this.
The only thing that the cabal knows is if while ever we're fighting each other, they're winning. And we've got to stop doing that. We've got to stop issuing blame on the Jews, the black lads. I mean, I've got loads of black lads. The Irish, the travellers, whoever, I don't care. I've got loads of Irish strap mates, right? Loads of travellers. They're trying to earn a crust just like everybody else, right? They're good lads. But because of what they've done and the web of lies that they've told to every different section of community, we should now be afraid of black men. Why? Why? I won't sort in and shake their hands. You know I've done it, Sean.
Yeah,
you've been with me when I've done it.
It's just divide and conquer, mate.
Correct. And we now have to stand as one man, one nation, under one God. And I don't even believe in God. Divine power, as they call it. Because I honestly, the stuff I do not well know where it comes from. Because it can't come out of me. I'm as thick as a brick. But everybody says, reads my documents, I'm going to send you one on the quiet tonight to read. And until that goes into court, it will remain for your eyes only. 21 pages.
All right, mate.
Of absolute law on top of law on top of law on top of maxims. Because the one thing they fear is God's law and constitution. And what's maxim of law? It's God's laws. It's from the divine law. Because most of it is from chapters and verses throughout the Bible. Corinthians, John. And this is what people forget. Look up John 3:16.
Oh, yeah?
We are the children of God, taken from his image. So if we are children of God, when we grow up, what would he become?
So it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
John 3.
There's another one. Sorry, mate. I'll give you the wrong verse. Sorry, I've been looking at Bible stuff here, so I might have got that. But I will send you. I'll send you it in a minute, because a very good pastor friend of mine sent me it.
Right, brilliant.
Right. So if I've got that wrong, I apologise. I do now and again get things wrong. So I'm going to send you it. And what I want you to do is, whoever you speak with next time, if you get it up, because I need to find Pastor Bob, because he sent me it. Thank you very much, Pastor Bob. Sorry, it's John. It's 1 John 3:1.
See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called,
Hang on.
children of...
I'm just sending you it now, Sean.
All right.
I'll send you it now. There you go. This is what Pastor Bob sent me. There you go, mate.
The verse conveys the profound love God has for us, allowing us to be called his children in his image.
There you go. Children in his image. Therefore, the only thing over man is God.
All right. Brilliant, mate. Good stuff. Really good stuff.
So if you put that on your paperwork, that now identifies you as a child of God, the living man.
Yeah.
Under a BNF 01 form. Birth Notification Form 1. That is your true standing, your true calling as the Englishman of sovereign rights. Right, mate, I think I've bored you all enough tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it all. Sorry for the boring
Hey, it's been great. Yeah,
details.
I'm just looking at the BNF, so British National Formulary, or Notion in Compiler Design. What was the name of that form again? BNF or
No,
NFP?
it's BNF. It's Birth Notification Form.
Ah.
That's the first form that you are given by the midwife, signs it, who then takes it to a doctor. They sign it, two professionals sign it to say that you have had a live birth. You are a entity of living.
Birth notification form, yeah, brilliant.
There you go. That's your first form that you are ever given when you are entered into this world.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic.
So I hope that helps everybody. I hope it makes it a little bit clearer for you guys, and I hope that you understand a little bit more tonight.
Absolutely, yeah, this has been great. So we've been, well, that's actually 1 hour, 20 minutes, mate. It's been an epic show. So I had some really good feedback from the one that we did yesterday. And then this is great because I can record it. I can go back and listen to it again myself. Because all this needs to be learnt, you know?
Yeah, it's about, look, I keep telling people, get off your asses, start learning it. I am, and I'm going to tell you now, I'm dyslexic. I was word blind until I was 22, which means I couldn't see the gaps between the words. It was just one massive mess on the page. Okay?
Yeah.
I had to teach myself to read at 22-year-old. Now, get that.
Well,
my spelling's still shocking.
Shows that it can be done, mate.
Anything can be done.
Yeah.
Anything can be done. Now, I'm a builder, right? That's all I am. Nothing special, nothing whatever. I am a builder. Now, if I can do this in a few years, think where you can be if you take the time to study certain bits of law. And if you've got a parking ticket, a speeding ticket, get yourself a fool's form. Fill it in, and I will send Sean one. It's called a statutory declaration. It costs you £5 to go to a solicitor's, get it stamped. It breached my constitutional rights. As to the hierarchy of constitutional rights over statutes, and to the ruling of 2002, the Metric Martyrs ruling, R. Thornburn v. City of Sunderland, stated, paragraph 62-63, the hierarchy of my rights.
Brilliant.
This case is started by a summons. So you put a cross in the box of section 14 and section 16, whether it's a single justice procedure or a bullshit summons, because they cannot summons you. It's illegal. And it tells you in section 14 and section 16E. And that's the Magistrates Court Act 1980.
Brilliant.
Once you stamp it and say that you have had not had due process, you've not had the case filed, so you cannot perform evidence. CPR 31, CPR 36, 31.6, CPS 24.5. Look them up, guys. This will save you thousands upon thousands of pounds. Go away. We've had about 40 cases dismissed.
Oh, wow.
And points removed, bans removed.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
And time for fraud and deception has no time limit. So what if you've gone over the 21 days from finding out, you need to fill in a PEG 2 form. And if you, I'll send you them to Sean tonight.
Right.
Hopefully you can put them on your website, Sean, and people can download them.
Yeah.
Fill it in. They're so simple, and it's done. Just use your keywords. That's it.
Yeah.
Breach of CPR 31, breach of CPR 31.6, breach of CPS 24.5, breach of your constitutional rights. You are
Fantastic.
not, and they've brought you on a statute which is not law. Therefore, by issuing a summons, the trial is then void, and that's what it states. And it's in. If you look on the second page, it says notes for guidance. Have a look at them, and then giggle like hell. Huh. So they have to return all your fine, all your forfeitures, and all the costs that they've damaged you with. So if your insurance gone up, send them a bill for it. Send them an invoice straight away, or telling them that you're having them under the MIPO.
Brilliant.
Misconduct in public office, because maxim of law, they should have known and ought to have known.
Absolutely. Huh.
Because they are supposed to be running law, not statutes.
Fantastic, mate. Right, well, that's 1 hour 20 minutes. This has been absolutely epic. We'll have to continue this because I know there's loads more in the bag, and people are going to want to hear. People are going to want to hear more of this, mate. This is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Right, well, like I said, Sean, we'll talk about it in a couple of days. If you want to get this one up and done, that's fine, no problem. But we'll do another one, and obviously this takes a lot out of people. This takes a lot, and I'm also dealing with council tax. I can tell you how to get our council tax and everything else.
Brilliant.
So we can do that one on the council tax and everything else next time if you want a bit of fun and play about with your council.
Absolutely, mate. Right, well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Mr. Blue. It's been fantastic, as always. I will upload.
Thank you, Mr. Toshi.
Upload this now, and I'll send you the link.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. As I say, I have shared that between certain members of key groups within the freedom movement, so hopefully it'll go around and boost your viewing. And I recommend that we all subscribe, like, and keep buying your Bitcoin.
There we go. Right, guys, we'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the show. As ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
And you.